bad company. There's going to be a second generation of another family come into this Hall of Fame. It's the Davis Street connection. That doesn't mean much to some of you, but there's a school named Lincoln School at the south end of Lincoln Street. It's just a little old 2.5 or 3 block street. On the west side of the street, some people named Linder lived for 24 or 5 years. On the east side of the street, just about 60 yards away, was a guy named Brownray. That guy and a gal, of course, and some kid. And right next door to that, to the north, people named Perkins. Can you believe that there will be 4 people from a span of about 70 yards that are going to be in this Hall of Fame because we're going to induct one of the fine high school athletes that Alva High School ever produced. It didn't make any difference what the sport was. He specialized when he got to college. He left the football field and left the basketball court. Here's a guy who had a career batting average of .329 through 4 seasons. Here's a guy that played not 1 or 2 or 3 positions. At one time or another, he played all 9 positions on the Rangers baseball team. All 9 positions. The most memorable thing in my mind, I thought I could pitch just a little bit when I was in school, but I tried to pitch full time. Here's a guy who was virtually a full-time catcher. When he wasn't catching, he was an outstanding first baseman. They were making a trip to UCO. It was late in the season. They were short of pitching. So Mike was tapped on the shoulder and said, "You're going to pitch the first game of today's doubleheader against UCO at Edmond, Oklahoma." So he pitched 7 innings and threw a no-hitter. That game was over. The other guys went to the shower and got ready to do something else. He put on the tools of ignorance and caught the 7-inning second half of that doubleheader. Nobody in the history of this university, I don't care if you're as old as I am, back in the 1950s or so, nobody has ever done that before. A no-hitter the first game and catch a full 7. As a senior, he batted .392 for the season. He was on the All-American team that year. He's a 4-time All-Conference player, 2-time All-District player. But again, as Willie just pointed out to you, the growth from boy to man is the most important thing. Today, this man lives in California. He's a school principal and he's touching lives every day. He doesn't know how many friends he has, not only in this room, but in Rangerland everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, the kid that grew up across the street from us, a great, great Ranger, Mr. Mike Perkins.
Wow, that's just like when I walk into my staff meetings. That's what you're thinking. All those great things. First of all, I just take a little bit of time to let the nominating committee thank you. I hope it was a tough choice, and I'm sure with all the great Rangers, those choices are difficult, and so pleased to be a part of it. I also want to congratulate my fellow inductees today. Proud of all of you. We'll get to some of that. That's the order on him. He was ready to go. Also, it's fun. There's many levels of family that I get to share today. Certainly, my wife Ann, kids Megan and Dylan, and family across the street, and certainly the Ranger family. It's been a part of my life. Long time, but I've had the privilege of living the Ranger life with a dad that worked in college, and there's not a sidewalk on this campus that I haven't ridden my bike on. There's probably not a building that I haven't been in legally during working hours, I'm sure. students, and then finally get to live a dream, get to attend school here, and ultimately play the sport that I love to play. So, you know, it's just, I'm very lucky, very lucky. Lots of experiences. Get to hear the coach come home and talk about the players, the team, about the workings of the college, how things set up. You know, I was more than just a fly on the wall. I was the kid, you know, walking behind everybody. I had a ball in my hand, had a bit in my hand, shoot the ball in the gym, wherever it might have been. But those are, you know, riding the bus, the old Ranger danger. You know, hundreds of thousands of miles with the team. I was one of the guys, and what a privilege. But you know, the experiences didn't stop there. I remember one. I was thinking the other night, and when I got to college, might have been spring of my freshman year, most likely my sophomore year, where I had this idea that I needed to lose my ID card, and with the idea that I could get another, enhanced, of course, where I would instantly become older. So during that time, I'm sure it wasn't a good doctor working back there, but we'll pretend like it wasn't. But you know, I scribbled on another year, and all of a sudden, voila, I'm older. And that served me purposes beyond the campus. But actually, what I was trying to do is get into the upper division classes, you know, so I could study. Those classes just happened to meet later in the evening off campus. Sure worked out nice, but I'm sure there's no legal ramifications, statute of limitations. So we're good. We're good. Well, I had, like I said, I had the opportunity to be around the Ranger family all the time. And the athletes that came and went, the guys that I got to hear the coaches talk about, not just my father, but all coaches, and how they begin to shape people, and how they would evaluate the person, maybe the talents, but also the person. But I had the, you know, and I was always around, so I was always listening, probably to things I shouldn't have heard, but it gave me a chance to see inside what it was all about, to be in college and on a team and part of something bigger. But I just remember, you know, the guys, and some are here today, Glenn Williams, Steve Hildebrand, Mike Hargrove, Bill Claybaugh, Randy Smith, Pee Wee Jackson, Willie Jackson, Freddie Schamberg, guys that some I played with, some I followed, but those were the types of people that were good men, good young men who happened to play sport. And those were the early markings of what I want to be in this world. And trying to put some of the elements together from those guys. And if I mentioned play ball, when you put things together, start mixing, just a little dose of that will go a long way. You don't want to overdo that, because that can get out of hand. But all great kids at the time. Like I said, I got to ride the bus with them and yuck it up on the bus. And they treated me as one of theirs, and I respected them and treated them like my brothers. But we had good times, and you know, it seemed easy for me because I knew what to expect. When I had my chance to play, and I was around in high school, I would get to go from the field and get to practice a little bit, even though I was in high school, and mingle with the guys. But see all the games, all the legendary battles out there on the field with all the great Southeastern teams that would come in. It seemed like we were always short a pitcher or 10, you know, and they had plenty. But it didn't stop any of us from believing that we could compete. And that was true before I got there. It was certainly true when I got there. So we had, this will come as a surprise to you. The coach offered us great focus. You know, and I know that's hard to believe. But he had many methods to create focus. And Coach Joe, thank goodness you're putting away that hill over there in left field. I spent more time running up and down the hill than I needed to, but I'm glad you found a better use for that. But you know, it's a training tool. You know, it's we need focus, so we're going to go run up and down the hill a little bit. I always thought there was something wrong with us as players. I think now, looking back, I think it was a recruiting problem. I'm not so sure I had anything to do with that, but I knew I was on the hill a lot. But we had a good time. We rode in those little vans, and there was no game too far, no team too tough for us. To Goodwill, where you could stand on the mound, and I can swear you could hear and see the Pacific Ocean. To Durant and Southwestern, and all of our colleagues in the old OIC. There was no trip not worth our time. And we loaded up and we went to play and we went to compete. And it made all the difference that we were on the same page. The pep talks, the running of the hills, but it was being treated like a young man, and there was the idea there are no excuses. If you're here, you have a chance to play, you will play. And that was just the matter of business when we went to the field, whether it was practice, riding in the van, staying in a hotel. Once in a while we had to, I guess, enough budget money to stay in a hotel, but we had to act accordingly. So the whole program was important. The whole experience was important and very meaningful to this day. It went by in a blink of an eye, but wouldn't trade a second. Wouldn't trade a second. It was a privilege, and it certainly is a privilege to be a member of the Ranger family, and now this today, it's beyond words. But I just, like I said, the experience I've had, I'll share one with you before I close. One of the great experiences that I had off the field was the day that I got to my turn to graduate, and I had the privilege of walking right after my mom when she received her diploma. One of the great moments that I'll always cherish. So it wasn't always baseball, but we had many good things happen because of this university. The packed gyms at the great games, the football games, the student body began to come up to baseball. Not to the field and brag on the other team a little bit. But we were one. We all had our specialty, but we were one. And we were unified in spirit and commitment. So it was a wholesome experience that we all benefited from. But not to steal the words of Dr. Cunningham, but I'll close now and let you know that it's truly an honor to be here and to be a part of you, especially in this way. I've been a part of you for many years. But I will say this, that it is a great day to be a Ranger, as is every day. And the three best words that I know are ride, Ranger.